Rule of law and its exceptions. Rule of law, the guarantee of equality before the law, is an aspect of what Dicey calls the rule of law in England. It means that no man is above the law and that every person, whatever be his rank or conditions, is subject to the jurisdiction of ordinary courts. With us, Dicey wrote every official from the Prime Minister down to constable or a collector of taxes is under the same responsibility for every act done without legal justification as any other citizen. Rule of law requires that no person shall be subjected to harsh, uncivilized or discriminatory treatment even when the object is the securing of the paramount exigencies of law and order. Professor Dicey gave three meanings of the rule of law thus. 1. Absence of arbitrary power or supremacy of the law. It means the absolute supremacy of law as opposed to the arbitrary power of the government. In other words, a man may be punished for a breach of law, but he can be punished for nothing else. 2. Equality before the law. It means subjection of all classes to the ordinary law of the land administered by ordinary law courts. This means that no one is above law with the sole exception of the monarch who can do no wrong. Everyone in England, whether he is an official of the state or a private individual, is bound to obey the same law. Thus, public officials do not hold a privileged position in Great Britain. In Great Britain there is one system of law and one system of courts for all, that is, for public officials and private persons. 3. The Constitution is the result of the ordinary law of the land. It means that the source of the right of individuals is not the written constitution but the rules as defined and enforced by the courts. The first and the second aspects apply to Indian system, but the third aspect of the Dicey's rule of law does not apply to Indian system as the source of rights of individuals is the Constitution of India. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and all laws passed by the legislature must be consistent with the provisions of the Constitution. The rule of law imposes a duty upon the state to take special measure to prevent and punish brutality by police methodology. The rule of law embodied in Article 14 is the basic feature of the Indian Constitution and hence it cannot be destroyed even by an amendment of the Constitution under Article 368 of the Constitution. The words any person in Article 14 of the Constitution denote that the guarantee of the equal protection of laws is available to any person, which includes any company or association or body of individuals. The protection of Article 14 extends to both citizens and non-citizens and to natural persons as well as legal persons. The equality before the law is guaranteed to all without regard to race, color or nationality. Corporations being juristic persons are also entitled to the benefit of Article 14. Exceptions to the rule of law, the above rule of equality is, however, not an absolute rule and there are number of exceptions to it. First, equality before the law does not mean the powers of the private citizens are the same as the powers of the public officials. Thus, a police officer has the power to arrest while no private person has this power. This is not the violation of the rule of law. But the rule of law does require that these powers should be clearly defined by law and that abuse of authority by public officers must be punished by ordinary courts in the same manner as illegal acts committed by private persons. Secondly, the rule of law does not prevent certain classes of persons being subject to special rules. Thus, members of the armed forces are controlled by military laws. Similarly, medical practitioners are subjected to the regulations framed by the Medical Council of India, a statutory body, and are immune from the jurisdiction of ordinary courts. Article 361 of the Indian Constitution affords immunity to the President of India and the state governors. Article 361 provides that the President or the governors of state shall not be answerable to any court for the exercise and performance of the powers and duties of the office or for any act done or purporting to be done by him in the exercise and performance of those powers and duties. No criminal proceeding shall be instituted or continued against the President or the Governor of a state in any court during his term of office. No process for the arrest or imprisonment of the President or the Governor of state shall be issued from any court during his term of office. Thirdly, today ministers and other executive bodies are given very wide discretionary powers by statute. A minister may be allowed by law to act as he thinks fit or if he is satisfied. Such power is sometimes abused. Today, a large number of legislation is passed in the form of delegated legislation, that is, rules, orders or statutory instruments made by ministers and other bodies and not directly by Parliament. These rules did not exist in Dicey's time. Fourthly, certain members of society are governed by special rules in their professions, that is, lawyers, doctors, nurses, members of armed forces and police. Such classes of people are treated differently from ordinary citizens. The Constitution itself contains provisions which, under certain circumstances, limit the effectiveness of Article 14. 1. The scope of right to equality under Article 14 has been considerably restricted by the 42nd Amendment Act, 1976. The new Article 31-C added by the directive principles contained in Clause B or Clause C of Article 39 cannot be challenged on the ground that they are violative of Article 14. Such laws will thus be an exception to Article 14 of the Constitution. In Sanjeev Coke Manufacturing Company vs. Bharat Cooking Coal Limited, 1983, the Supreme Court has held that where Article 31-C comes in, Article 14 goes out. 2. Article 359(1) provides that where a proclamation of emergency is in operation, the President may, by order, declare that the right to move any court for the enforcement of such rights conferred by Part 3, except Articles 20 and 21, shall remain suspended. Thus, if the President of India issues an order, where a proclamation of emergency is in operation, enforcement of Article 14 may be suspended for the period during which the proclamation is in force. 3. Article 361 lays down that the President and the governors are exempted from any criminal proceeding during the tenure of their office. 4. Under international law, foreign sovereign and ambassadors enjoy full immunity from any judicial process. This is also available to enemy aliens for acts of war.